Mr. McClay, I saw your presentation this morning, and I would like for you to explain to me what the strengths of the Canadian pulp and paper, or pulp markets producers are at this point in time.
Well, I think this, just generally speaking, the pulp market globally is growing probably 3% a year. And Canada is still a big, important player in the marketplace. We're number 2 in the world. We have the widest range of pulp grades to choose from of any supplying country. And when it comes to, I guess there are 2 main grades, NBSK, we make the best NBSK in the world, premium reinforcement pulp, which I think will be a growing market over time as more of the growth in paper markets is specialty papers and toweling and grades that need the strength of premium reinforcement NBSK, and that's going to do well for us, I think. And in BCTMP too, Canada is also the biggest BCTMP producer in the world. And I think a lot of the growth, it's very much a China market for board, and the board business in China is booming. Too much capacity now, like they have for a lot of things. But BCTMP from Canada is a critical component of that.
Now, we know that there's a lot of bleached eucalyptus pulp coming on the market, already on the market now, and within the next year or so. Is that going to have any dilution effect on the Canadian pulp producers by perhaps suggesting that some producers use fiber substitution using a bleached eucalyptus graft rather than NBSK?
Well, they're 2 very, very different pulp grades for sure. And I don't think there's going to be a direct impact. I mean, you can't do with eucalyptus what you can do with NBSK. But I think indirectly, I mean, because I think there's too much BEK or eucalyptus supply coming on stream, it'll tend to push prices lower. The spreads with NBSK will widen out so that, for tissue producers in China, for instance, who are more flexible in what kind of fibers they can use, they might lower their inclusion rate of NBSK. But generally speaking, I think paper makers' natural inclination is to minimize NBSK because it typically is a more expensive fiber. I think it's heading towards being a specialty pulp. We're not really growing capacity for NBSK, yet demand continues to grow 1, maybe 2% a year for specialties. It'll be a smaller component of more advanced paper grades, and I think that's probably a very good thing for NBSK producers.
So do you think that Canadian producers will have to market their ability to produce specialty end-user grades?
No question about it. I mean, these things don't happen by themselves. You really got to show up and go out there and tell them how it works. I mean, I think there's a couple of Canadian companies that do a lot of that, Camphor being one of them. Camphor Pulp goes out there and really holds hands with paper makers and shows them what the benefit is, what the financial benefit is of using their pulp in that particular grade. And more of that's going to be done for sure.
Now, what about dissolving pulp? We know about the punitive duties that China has imposed on North American and I believe Brazilian producers. How's that going to shake out in the next few years?
Well, that was an unfortunate one, but it's an anti-dumping duty, not just in China, but everywhere else. It's a political event, and so often logic doesn't really raise its ugly head. Obviously it's really been a blow to Canadian producers, some of them anyway, who have had to pay, pretty high duties on pulp going into China. There's the final determination, I think, by the China Ministry of Commerce is going to be April 6th. And I think some Canadian producers are hoping that that rate that they're paying now will be reduced or eliminated. But what it's done so far is basically kept Canadian, American, and Brazilian imported dissolving pulp out of China, forced to go elsewhere, and it's not had a whole lot of impact on prices in China, but it has dropped dissolving pulp prices in other markets.
Now, some Canadian kraft mills are swing mills, which swing between hardwood and softwood. And, the new softwood or hardwood capacity coming on the market, do you think that's going to have any impact on those swing mills?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I would think, looking at my forecast, the pricing scenario, anybody who can make softwood will make it. Anybody who can buy hardwood will buy it. And so if you're a swing mill with the ability to make hardwood or softwood, I think generally speaking, you're going to make more softwood. it really isn't growing in the world other than a mill in Russia and then some integrated supply that's coming back to the market. We're going to be short of supply on the softwood side. We're going to have way too much hardwood. So, I mean, the natural equation would be to make less hardwood and more softwood.
And what will have to happen to make Canadian pulp producers more profitable?
Well, a lower Canadian dollar doesn't hurt at this point in time, but it has obviously more general implications for the economy. I think if they got, I wouldn't say get together, but if they had the idea of promoting Canadian NBSK as a premium reinforcement pulp and sell it as a specialty, that would help.
Okay, thank you very much for your time.